Hey folks, welcome to another Conversations That Matter. My name is Brittany Butler.
And I'm Michelle Treese.
And we have two great guests for you again today. And we're going to have them introduce themselves. We have Rufus and Rick.
Right.
So Rick, would you like to go first?
Well, I was pointing at him, but I guess it's going to be
Rufus,
me.
would you like to go first?
Okay, since we got the same first name, you think I will come for you, but I'm Rufus Houston, and I've been here in Jonesborough for 27 years, and with the pantry probably over 5 or 6 years. So that's my little intro. We may get into more later.
Sure, thank you.
I'm Rick Newell, and we escaped from Buffalo, New York about 9 years ago, and have been here ever since and just loving it. So I've been with the pantry since around 2019.
Now, how did you get to Jonesborough?
Well,
Not by car,
okay.
but what got you to this area?
My wife's daughter and her family were living in Atlanta and then moved to Johnson City. So we would come to visit, and we left the Pancake House one day, and she went right and we went left and walked into Jonesborough and like, oh, this is good.
Oh.
So we visited a few more times, and then we made up our minds that this is where we wanted to live. We knew we had to get out of New York State. Wanted to get to and needed to get out of New York State because we couldn't afford to stay there. And we just fell in love with Jonesboro's like the town that we both grew up in years ago, which had exploded since then. So we went to a storytelling because it's a storytelling capital of the world, and we're like, yeah, what does that mean? You know? So we went to one, and we were hooked on it.
Yeah.
And so we finally moved down and got settled, and then we found a house that we're renting. We have a beautiful yard. We've got a creek behind. I've got a big garage, so Rick gets to keep all his tools and stuff like that. And we're just having a great time.
That's great. Now, Rufus, you said you've been here for 27 years?
Yeah.
So I know you're older than 27. So
Okay,
It was 10 at the
you're looking
time.
28 or 9.
Okay.
So what got you to Jonesborough?
My wife, what it was, my son graduated from high school. So he was going to different schools, and so he decided he's going to go to East Tennessee State University. So then all of a sudden, my wife says, I don't want to leave him down here. What do you mean? I don't want to leave him down here. I was getting ready to retire from the military anyway, so I said, well, okay, what do you want to do? I want to move down there. So we moved to Jonesborough, and that's how I ended up here.
Now, where did you live before?
I'm originally from Chattanooga,
Okay.
but I came here from Yorktown, Virginia, which is just outside of Hampton and Newport News, Virginia.
Okay.
That's where I came from.
That's
So,
pretty sweet. Now, you say you're from Chattanooga. Is it
Yeah.
really Chattanooga, or is it right outside of Chattanooga?
no,
I've got family that lives
I'm
in
inside Chattanooga all my life that I lived there.
Yeah, I have family that lives in their cousin's family, Soddy Daisy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's not Chattanooga.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not the
correct.
city.
Now, did your son like having y'all so close?
Well, I guess he did because he was going to live in the dorms,
Oh,
but he
okay.
then lived in the house.
Nice.
And it probably worked out for him in the end to live in the house because he preferred to save money than spend money.
Nice.
Oh, that's
And so by him staying at home, he didn't have to worry about us paying for dorm fees and all that different things. And he soon said, you know what, I'm going to go to work also and let them pay for my degree. So that's what
Oh,
happened.
nice.
See, that's really nice, Sam.
Way to
Isn't
do
that-
I don't have that at my house. So you guys work with the pantry here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us about the pantry. Details on the name and location, all that good stuff. And then share a little bit about how you came to work with the pantry.
Well, the JAMA stands for Jonesborough Area Ministerial Association. And I found it an amazing thing when we moved here because where we came from, this church had their little pantry going, this church had their little pantry going, and I even suggested that our church joined with another one. They're like, no, we're going to do our own thing. And I come here and like 5 or 6 churches have banded together to do one pantry. And it's like, that's just amazing. That concept in itself is wonderful. Karen and I were asked to come in and help be servers basically for our church. Some people were leaving and they needed replacements. And we were doing that for a while and kind of I live close by. So it was kind of like, well, if you need to get to the pantry, give me a call and I can meet you there and stuff like that. So I started to get more and more involved. When COVID hit, it's just like the whole thing changed, because instead of having people come in, sit in the waiting room and then go through and shop and so forth, we decided we had to prepare boxes and then bring it out to the cars to them. Everybody working at the pantry had masks on and stuff like that. And we had a group of key people, smallish group, and then 2 of them came down with COVID. And we looked around and it was kind of like, okay, we don't have spares here. So then that started an effort to bring in more volunteers. I'm kind of a problem solving person. So I see something that needs fixing and it's like, well, let's see what we can figure out for that. And then what I like to do is get that rolling and then kind of like say, okay, you got this, and then go on to something else. And my wife is still waiting for that last step to happen.
That's great.
But it's fun. Elmer Gillespie, who started the pantry, and you may know a little bit more in the years and how long and so forth, but we all worked together for a while, and then he retired from the pantry, and it took 4 of us working together very closely and to struggle to do the job that he was doing pretty much by himself with a handful of volunteers. So we're very grateful for what he got started, but also very impressed with what he was able to do kind of by himself. So. I think he was in his 80s when he retired.
Yeah.
And how about you, Rufus? How'd you get involved in this?
I was at Bethel Christian Church listening to announcement he made, Elmer Gillespie made, saying he needed help at the food pantry, which I didn't know there was a food pantry in Jonesborough. So I heard him, and this might be interesting. So I went to other churches and I came back here and I heard him asking for help again. I said, well, what's going on here? So I went up and started talking to him. And he said, yeah, I'll be glad to have your help. So he probably was glad to have my help, because at one point in time, there were just he and I doing all the shopping and everything else for Wednesdays. And so it was a good thing that he probably glad I got help. I came in to help him, because that, like you said, he was doing everything on his own for a while. So it just like, oh, okay. And then pretty soon we start having more and more people help out. But during COVID, it was a struggle. He and I would just be the ones doing it, and eventually, as the COVID deaths died down and people start coming back, and we got volunteers that are just fantastic. We're doing things now that I thought that, this might be good to do. Even though I sort of like the old way where customers came in, because you kind of got to talk to them a little bit and they got to pick and choose what they want. Now they get to what we give them. We still try to ask them what they don't need, to try not to give it to them, because we don't want anybody to waste any food. But that's in a nutshell how I got started. Elmer Gillespie making a plea. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time to hear that plea. And it's been that way ever since. I'm usually here almost every Wednesday, and one Thursday once a month, sometimes 2 or 3, depends on who asks for help.
So I volunteer at the pantry in Johnson City, and I know that has to be, next to Conversations That Matters, the most rewarding thing I do every week. I mean, it has to be. How do you guys feel about that? When you leave at the end of that day, freezing cold out there, how do you feel?
Well, during COVID, what was particularly good about it was that it gave me a chance to get part of my life back from the lockdown. and you were able to get out of the house. You were able to have a purpose. You were able to be helping people who needed help. And during COVID, that was just an absolutely glorious thing. I'm kind of the warehouse guy, and I'm not really out in front as much. But even when I come walking in the morning, people are saying, thank you, and God bless you, and stuff like that. And that's just not a bad thing.
Exactly. Yeah. How about you, Rufus?
I have to say it is rewarding in the sense that not only do we get to serve them food and things, but you get to know them. Mm-hmm. They would talk to you, you talk back to them. Even if you just say, "How are you doing?" They will appreciate it, because many of our customers, at least on the week that I normally serve a lot on Thursdays, many of them are older, single people. So they appreciate conversation. And at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, some days, because we have a lot some days, I'm like, wow, I'm glad that's over with.
How many would you have?
Well, today we did it, and we only had like 24, but last month I think we had close to 40, which is a lot for a 3-hour period.
Wow.
And we have had a high of 177 for the month. And that's pretty high for this small community. And we do serve 3 areas, Jonesborough, Telford, and Limestone.
Okay.
So those 3 areas we do serve, but I still think that is pretty high for such a small population, though. But
I think what you were saying a minute ago about older single people is what I see in Johnson City. And we typically do 80, 90 every Wednesday. Sometimes, depending on, like yesterday, we had about 60 maybe, and I think weather has something to do with it, of course. But a lot of older folks by themselves, and I see a lot of folks who they are living in their cars or close to that, because you can, when you put things in their trunk, or you can see in their car all the things that it looks like all the things they own there in there. So
I did tell that, because we see the same thing. It's like, where are we going to put this?
And is there any other way folks have to qualify, or they just drive up and?
Well, besides being from those 3 areas that I mentioned, you also have to be. You can be automatically qualified if you're on SNAP. If you live in those 3 areas, you got SNAP. We don't even ask you anything else. The other thing is, if you got a certain level of income, if it's below the level that's required by the USDA program, then you qualify. So those are the 2 easier ways to qualify. Now, we normally give out USDA, which is United States Department of Agricultural Foods, which can include from, I think we had a high one time of, I think the sheet goes 30 something. We had more than that to give out on one week. We've had as low as probably 12 to give out, which is all dependent upon what we get from Second Harvest. So you qualify simply by saying, here is my income, and if you have no income, we just take it at face value. We don't sit up and say, well, you got to prove it. We don't try to do that. That's not what we're here for. We're here to give out food. So if you tell us that's what it is, we're going to take it at face value and serve you. Sometimes we do get people from other areas. We won't turn you away, but we won't necessarily give you everything that we have, because with USDA, that's a very special category. And we want you to go to places that are closer to you.
Right.
Because we want to make sure we can serve what we have. So with those people, we give them some food, but we try to also give them a sheet that shows where the pantries are that are closer to them in the area. We had people come from as far away as Irwin. So we try to give those people, hey, this is a lot closer, and you understand that. So we try to be as simplified as we can. We're automated, though. That's a good thing. We're automated.
And what does that mean?
That means that we have a tablet with an app program on it that we can just log into, and then look up people's names and everything. And basically all we're looking for are any changes. so that what we give out, because we give out by the number of people, from a family of 1 to a family, I think we got as high as a family of 10 that we give out things to. So we want to make sure we give out a quantity that's appropriate and from what we think of people should get. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we require to qualify. Do you remember anything else?
Not too much. What happens sometimes, though, is there's different things they have to show as far as proof of residence and things like that. Yeah. We operate the whole pantry based on the USDA guidelines. But if somebody comes and doesn't quite have enough information to qualify for USDA, we will still give them probably all the rest of the food that we can. That's donated basically by the churches and by people who have donated money. And so nobody leaves empty-handed. The other thing that the pad does for us, though, is somebody's been to another pantry.
Oh, they've already logged in twice.
Yeah. And then we kind of say, well, you were just over at so-and-so.
Oh, wow.
USDA rules are that they can get food once a month. So again, we work by those guidelines. Our food is not considered to be their food for the month. We're supplementing whatever other means that they have.
Not that they don't get good things, because we do get things from stores like Walmart, Dollar General,
Food City. From Food City.
Yeah, Food City, and I think those are the 3 main ones that we get stuff from.
And the food that is from USDA, is it delivered directly to the building?
No.
Or,
we go to Second Harvest and pick it up
Gotcha.
in Sullivan County. We do that every Wednesday.
Yeah.
And
so at Second Harvest, we get food that we're buying, and then the USDA food, which doesn't cost us anything.
And that's a good thing. We are very cost conscious, so we try to get as much free as we can get.
Sure.
And then what we can't get free, we do pay for. We're fortunate enough to get donors who help us to pay for those items that are not USDA.
And we could probably chat a little bit about donors right now, because there's a food drive going on, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
What's that?
Is it the 3rd year in a row? I think so. The McKinney Center is doing a food drive. We also have a couple other organizations that do food drive, but McKinney Center has been wonderful for us. And
Go McKinney Center. I said go McKinney Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I think they're doing it in honor of Martin Luther King's Day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's one place. I know that the Jonesborough Library has a food drive going on right now as well.
And we get a lot of stuff from the Jonesborough Senior Center, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
They collect regularly. And then there's a church near Christmas. They do a Christmas concert, and the price of admission is a donation for the pantry.
Which is normally held at Trinity Baptist Church.
Right.
Oh, I love that. That's great. That is a great way to do that.
And that's a huge amount of food. That took us a while to get that sorted out. Any food donations that we get, besides like what we pick up from Second Harvest and so forth, we have to go through it, look at it, and make sure that it's within dates that we can use. Occasionally we find somebody's like they've cleaned out their pantry, or maybe somebody's passed away and they're cleaning out their pantry, and then we're looking at this as like 2010. Wait a minute.
That's been in the back of the pantry.
Yeah.
And kind of our rule is, if we're not sure about something, it's like, would you eat it? And it's like, no. Okay, then we don't want to waste food, but you just don't want to ever do anything that would hurt somebody.
Yeah, I'd hate to have somebody saying, well, I had to go to the hospital. I ate something from here.
Right.
I don't want to hear that.
Ever.
Don't want to hear it. Ever.
Exactly. And I think the McKinney Center food drive right now goes until Monday, Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah.
And if you have any food to drop off, should be dropped off at the McKinney Center.
Yeah.
Can they drop it off at the JAMA building, or strictly at the McKinney Center?
They can drop it off at the JAMA building on Wednesdays.
Wednesday? Gotcha.
Any time between, I would say, 8 and 12.
Yeah.
Bring it by. No drop off at the door.
No, don't leave it outdoors. Please don't do it. Somebody is here.
Yes.
Then please, just say, hey, I got some things I need to drop off, donations. So we okay. Don't leave it on the parking lot. Don't do it, please.
Exactly.
I don't
It's
want
not
to pick it up.
It's not other places where you
Yeah.
go now.
After this Monday,
Yes.
that's how you could donate.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way you can do it.
But
Okay.
the easiest way right now is just to take it to the McKinney.
Bring
Yeah.
it to the McKinney
Yeah.
Center.
We want McKinney Center to feel like we've done a lot for the community.
Yes.
We don't want to shortchange them. We want them to get their credit.
Get
They
their credit.
deserve
That's
it.
right. That's right.
That is
And
right.
so-
And I think during this Martin Luther King week, and we're almost coming up to the actual day, McKinney Center, I think Langston is doing a food drive for you guys. And there's one other group. Who is it? McKinney Center, Langston, and
Carver and Good Samaritan, I don't know exactly where everybody's donations are
Gotcha.
going to end up, but Carver, I was told, is splitting theirs between Good Samaritan and
okay.
here.
Okay.
But everything you bring in the McKinney Center goes.
Go straight to Jonesborough.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's great. So moving into another area of our usually conversations that matter, this whole thing started back in 2020 when George Floyd's death, and there were some concerns about, is there racism in this area and things like that. So what we want to do with this is I'd like to talk about how, like, different races, different cultures, how do they, kind of merge in Jonesborough in Washington County. So you coming from New York into Jonesborough, was that a culture shock for you? I mean, I know you were saying it was getting kind of busy and bustling there.
It's kind of busy there. It seems to me, I'll say in like the Northeast at least, people are a little more uncomfortable about talking about their faith. Still pretty good at helping other people out and stuff like that. But it's just much more open and friendly here. The amount of support that comes from just everybody around here, even people who you may be politically on opposite sides of, when it comes to helping out people, everybody's there.
Right. I hear a lot of that in this area. Yeah. How about you, Rufus? I know you moved from Yorktown.
Yeah, but I lived in Yorktown, but I actually did more things in Hampton, Virginia area. And the only thing that's probably shocked me more than anything else, if I call it a culture shock, is that there were a lot less things to do here. Because in Hampton, Virginia area, I mean, you're talking 1 million people plus. And that's just, Jonesborough Repertory Theater is fine, but it is small. I'm used to going to a theater that has actually people that you see in the movies, actually, or in the theaters who actually come there and perform.
Right.
So that was a little bit different. The music I get to hear is different on the radio. And then you got very few blacks in the area, so you got to go find them. Wherever they're at, you got to go find them.
Rufus, I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
That was something else, And I mean, just like I had my grandkids for a while here, and they born here, raised here. So it goes to Chattanooga, they go like, what?
Yeah. Yeah,
They got their mouth open, like, oh yeah, there's plenty of black people. You just don't see them in Johnson City area, Jonesboro area. But that is the biggest thing, But as far as the people niceness, it's the same as far as I'm concerned. I've met a lot of nice people. And like I told people once before, that I like working at the pantry. A lot of people I've gotten to know and got to be friends with, and that's the good thing, The openness that I have in this place is not different than when I was in Hampton, because there was a lot of openness there. But I mean, here it's a lot more. It's just as open and friendly as it was there. That's not a problem. That's not a problem there.
Now, did you attend predominantly black schools? Because I go to Virginia Beach a lot. I have a friend there.
Only up to my junior high school year. Then I went over to integrated school, as they called it back then, predominantly white school.
How was that?
I only went there because I want to see how smart they're supposed to be. Everybody's talking about how smart they are, Not true. Not true. So I like, oh, okay. I got to meet a lot of good people there too, and that was, I had actually a very good friend who was white, and Unfortunately, he's dead now, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, I just found out that, hey, the world is just like anywhere
Mm-hmm.
else. It's just that the media and everything else try to make it different, but everybody's in the same boat, needs, wants, desires, you know.
Right. Now, Rick, how about you? Integration? Were you involved in like middle school, elementary school, high school?
Not really. The suburb that I grew up in was basically very white. It sounds kind of funny to say this, but the only African Americans that I met in school were from the Home, which was a Methodist home for children.
Oh, wow.
So as far as day-to-day life and so forth, that was pretty much it.
Now, do you remember the first time you actually met a black person and like became friends? Like, hey, this is my friend.
I've been thinking about that because that was on the list of topics that
You're
like to
getting
talk
ready,
about
right?
and stuff. And the first thing that came to mind is actually kind of a negative thing, but we were visiting a town not too far from Buffalo, and I saw a little African American kid about my age, and I tried to start up a conversation with him. It was not a big deal to me, and he turned around and said some disparaging things, including call me honky, and I had no idea what that was about.
No.
Welcome to the club.
So you go to your parents and say, "What's that mean?" Is that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
And that's really compared to what else has been going on, that was a very, very minor incident, but it was a little bit of an eye opener for me. It's kind of like, what did I do?
Yeah. Yeah. How about a friend that ended up being a good friend, or maybe didn't give you those disparaging words?
I haven't really been able to think of any as I've been coming up with that. I mean, I lived in the Washington, D.C. area for about 8 years. And so pretty much any job I had, there were African Americans involved. And again, to me, it was like, this was not something to be worried about or concerned about. And it went very well. We just worked as equals and stuff. It actually took me up until pretty much recently to realize just how African Americans have been treated and how it would feel to be treated the way that they have.
Oh.
And I was having a conversation with my niece's partner who is African American. And I said, to me, one of the differences it seems like is that in the North, everybody wants to be politically correct and so forth, so they don't express the feelings that are actually there. And they hide them. And I said, and other places, it's more out in the open. I said, what is your, preference in that? She goes, I'd rather know what I'm up against and have it be out in the open than having people stab you in the back or whatever. So
That's really interesting. I said the same thing, basically. We lived in Akron, Ohio for about 3.5 years, and it was kind of the same thing. People were very standoffish, not really interacting with people too much, and it was the same, you didn't really know where you stood. But down here, it's like everyone's really open. They let you know, and at least you know how to interact with people.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's interesting.
It is. And I remember going to see, years ago, I was at ETSU as a student, and I heard, I cannot think of his name, but he at the time was the president of NAACP National. And he said, back in the day, if they had on a KKK outfit, or a flag waving, back up, KKK outfit, you could not tell who was under there. So, but today, he was like, today they will wear a 3-piece suit just like you. And so you don't know. You don't know, and it is who's going to stab you in the back, who's not going to support you when needed. But
after I moved here, I heard about a term that I had never conceived of, and I believe it's called sundown towns. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, sunset.
Sunset towns?
Yeah, sunset
Yes.
towns.
And that was, you were tolerated during the day, but if you were black, do not be there at
Get
night.
out of here. Yeah, there's not one too far from here. I won't call any names, Erwin.
No, I know what you're talking about too. Yeah.
But you know what, ironically about that, I never had a problem in Unicoi County for nothing.
Yeah.
I've called ball, and because I called basketball, softball over there, And I was surprised how many people actually knew who I was, and actually I never had a problem over there, even though I understand that in the near past it was like, hey, don't be caught here.
Right.
But I never had one bit of problem.
That's good to hear, because we've had this conversation many times about Irwin.
Right.
Well, when you get a reputation, sometimes it's hard to get rid of it.
It is.
Yeah.
Bless their heart. When I came here late 70s for school, it was kind of like, if you go to this way, that'll get you to the mall, and that way, and they're like, don't ever go that way.
Yeah. I've heard stories from people who've gone over there in the 70s, and it's like, oh, you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
So unfortunately.
It's and that is, you're right. It's hard for them to break that reputation. Yeah. So, but that's a big deal. Sundown towns. Yeah. Sunset.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad when it's a whole county though.
Right.
And
Yeah. So, how about living in Washington County? Do you feel like Washington County is very accepting of diversity? What are your thoughts on this area that you're not going to get in trouble with?
I don't care. I'm a 70-year-old man. I don't care. No, they're not diverse. They don't care about diversity. They care about what they want, and that's what they care about. Period. They may say the right things, do the right things in the end, but in reality, if they're not made to do it because of money, they're not going to do anything that calls for diversity. If you notice that, I haven't been lately, but to a black and white dialogue, and I can say that Johnson City may say, okay, they have people that represent Johnson City that comes to the meetings, and they say, well, this is what we're trying to do, and they have put some of those things into practice to try to get diversified. But I don't hear that from Washington County governing bodies as a whole. I don't hear it. That's saying, hey, we want to make sure that we can have a diverse county. Why? Because we want to make sure that we can enrich everybody else's life. Because the more people that's different from you, the better you can be for yourself. I have not heard it out of the county, period.
That's exactly the reason why we started doing this, was because someone had made the comment that there's no racism, there's no issues or problems with race in Washington County. And the ideal was, let's have this conversation so people can see this is people's day-by-day life and what they're experiencing. So that's
I can give you some examples.
What people have said.
I'm walking up the street, and the things I hear come out of people's mouths in their vehicles. They wouldn't probably say it to my face directly, but the things you hear coming out of their mouths is like, whoa, okay, where'd that come from? I'm just walking up the street.
Right.
And you do a lot of walking too.
Yeah, you got that right. A lot of walking. But for the most part, if I miss a week because I'm out of town or something, there are people who will come by and say, of the white persuasion, say, hey, I missed you. I'm glad to see you're not dead.
Oh gosh.
Because you give me inspiration. Stuff like that, So there are, pros and cons. Like I say, this is a very friendly town area for this area. I can't speak outside of it, but I've been outside in other places, like Fall Branch, South Central, and places like that. And they appear to be opening and everything, but I don't live there every day, so I can't say for sure what it's like, But I can speak on Jonesborough, Telford, Limestone, and others like that, how open they can be as individuals, but we don't have it as a whole being like, we ought to make this an effort.
Right.
I was kind of shocked. I like to just drive around, explore. Karen and I was like, well, how do you know where you're going? I just end up, and you get out just far enough, and you start seeing the stars and bars and stuff like that. And it was kind of like, okay, and that was culture shock.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess you wouldn't see too much of that in Buffalo.
No, actually though, in some of the rural areas, we have seen a little bit of that
interesting.
too. So.
Okay. A lot more snow up there too. I take it. I hope we're supposed to get some down here.
It'd be
Tuesday
nice.
or something.
It'd be nice.
I don't know.
How was the weather moving from Buffalo here? How is that?
Well,
the comparison.
Kind of our first winter here, we would, it's going to snow and stuff like that, and everybody's like in all this big panic, just like we would be with one of our normal storms up there. And we get up in the morning, and there's what we call a dusting on the ground, and the parking lot's melted already.
Yeah.
And school's closed, the county buildings are closed, and mall is closed, and and we're like, what? But also learning that when you have families that are up in the mountains and school buses are going to try to reverse icy roads, and the ones that get the sun in the morning are okay, but the ones that don't get the sun till the afternoon are not drivable in the morning. So
Right.
We had to kind of make allowances for that. But and the winters, I think everywhere are getting milder and milder. Even Buffalo hasn't really been getting the storms. The one winter, I was working for Habitat, and we were working down in the city, and we literally, in a very small band south of Buffalo, got 6 feet of snow, and I'm not exaggerating.
Wow.
But it was a very narrow band coming across the lake, and it hit that area, clobbered it, where we lived, a dusting. In the city, where my work sites were, we had to use a snowblower a little bit and stuff, but no big deal. And people in the south towns were getting their driveways clear, but there was no road clearing yet. And the snow was so deep, they were having to come in with front end loaders and just scoop it out, put it into dump trucks, and then work their way down the roads.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And a fellow supervisor finally, got away from his house after about 3 days after the storm, drove in, he's driving his cube van, and it's got like another 4 feet up on top,
Oh my gosh.
And he gets out and he looks around and he goes, oh. The little bit of a cruel side to it was that the snow totals are done at the airport. And that storm missed the airport. So it didn't happen.
Oh my gosh.
So when you guys moved down, did you bring a snowblower?
No, we were very happy to sell that and leave it behind.
Did you bring a
We
shovel?
brought one snow shovel.
Well, I have some friends years ago that moved down to Johnson City from Pennsylvania. And first snow that they had here, they were like shoveling snow. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm shoveling the snow. And I'm like, okay. Well, an hour later, sun's out, it's gone.
I'm watching people with the broom sweeping off the front stoop.
I've done that. Quit that. Cut that.
It is. It's a total different mind frame on storms and stuff.
But after that storm, then Karen said, I'm done with this. I want to get out of here.
Karen's in there with us, by the way.
Happy wife, happy life.
Right.
You heard that, everybody? No.
Make a note of that, please.
That's
That'll be on the next
another
quiz.
conversation.
Right. That's right.
Yay.
One thing we did find at the pantry that was kind of tough to deal with was we had this one, I believe that it was a older gentleman, and he and his wife were having to look after their grandchildren because the parents were not. But the parents would not give them guardianship.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of benefits that they needed for the kids that they couldn't enroll in because of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know there's any way around that roadblock.
Yeah, I'm a retired teacher, and a lot of times, then that's becoming more and more common where grandparents are taking care of their grandchildren and other next generation relatives. And again, parents don't want to give over that custody. And I don't know if it's because they may be getting money for this kid and don't want to share with the grandparents or what, but it is a problem.
Yeah.
It is a problem. And I think it's becoming more and more common. And I think there needs to be some type of a leeway around that so that if the child has been with the grandparent X amount of months, then it's automatically they should have at least the option to those benefits.
Well, the only relief you ever get for that, though, is just you can claim them on your income tax. And if you don't make a lot of money, it's not going to make a lot of difference.
Right.
Right.
You know.
And generally, a lot of the grandparents are on that at that point.
Yeah.
So, I think there are a lot of issues with in this community, Washington County in general, with just helping our families that are in need. I think we have a lot. I mean, I think I read somewhere Washington County maybe about 51-52% below the poverty level.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I want our elected officials to do something about that.
Yeah.
I want them. It's kind of like you said. I need some policy. I need you to quit running your mouth about it and do something to address those issues. And we have to figure out how to make that work.
The one thing that gets me, though, is when you're talking to people who come here and they're on SNAP and they tell you, my SNAP benefits got cut. I'm down to $20 a month, or I'm down to $50 a month. Or, like, who can go to the store and get food off of that kind of money? And you got to pay what? I don't know if they pay taxes or with that or not. I have no clue. I don't know if they pay taxes, but you're paying 6.5% on taxes and everything for food and all that. That kind of cuts into that $20 and that $50 or that's been reduced from what you've been getting. And that kind of makes it hard even on the pantry. You're trying to, you feel for them, because how are you surviving?
Exactly.
How are you surviving?
And I know with COVID, the government gave a lot of benefits. I shouldn't say benefits, but a lot of
Aid.
to families with free lunch and free, meals at school, which kind of helps to save money at home.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, we're done with that. We're done. No more of that.
Over.
It's over. Get back to the way you were before. And what do you mean? What do you mean? I've noticed that Sullivan County, the law was passed to stop the free lunches and free breakfast for kids. And Sullivan County said, hey, we're going to reinstate it. And Johnson City, Washington County, what y'all doing? What y'all going to do about that? It's a need. It is so very clear. It's a need. How can you not provide? So.
Yeah, we see it every week that there is a need. Unfortunately, I know that the government doesn't have extended pockets, but they could be more thinking about what they want, how to best spend it to help the most people. So I know we need roads, but we don't necessarily need to pay these high prices for contracts to get these roads done. We don't think about that. Well, that's the price we can get the lowest rate. No, not really. If you put pressure on people who wants to do business, they'll figure it out, to get it lower. But that's not how it works, unfortunately.
Right.
And I think the focus on people should be more on people, not just the exterior. In this county, everybody's got to have a car. No matter how poor you are, you got to have a car. Fortunately, in Johnson City, there's some bus service, not great, but some. Everywhere else, you can call Northeast Tennessee Trans. Well, okay, that still costs you. Or you got to get a taxi. Well, who wants to take a taxi from Johnson City to Limestone, from Limestone to Johnson City? That's not that's taken from the necessary things that you need. And the government need to look at that. Our local government need to look at that and figure out what can we do better.
Right. If we've gone as far as to name this region, the Appalachian Highland region, then we should go as far as being able to allow folks to travel within the region. Just
with smoothness and easiness.
Exactly. Follow up. And you can go into some of the bigger cities and the buses run from 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can always get something. And I don't think we're that big.
No.
But we're bigger than 6 to 6. I don't know what our transit runs in Johnson City.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But it's not enough to get you to work all day and any time. So just address those kind of things.
Yeah, I know when I was in London for a visit, and oh man, this is nice. You just go walk up to it. You know, you get a bus pass for any pass. It's a transportation pass for a month. I mean, you jump on the bus, you go anywhere you want to, any time of the day. You jump on the subway, go anywhere you want to, and you come back here and you go like, man, it sure be nice to have a transportation where you can just go use the transportation system. If they had it, I would use it, because if I don't have to drive, I don't need to drive. I'll use the transportation system, but it's not available, and that hurts. Not people, everybody, not just some people, everybody, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people would like to leave their car at home. But the transportation system is something we don't think about. Yeah, we're going to make us a train from Atlanta to Georgia, from Bristol to whomever, you know. Well, why don't you have something in this area?
Yeah. You're right. Wow. How are we doing with time?
Okay.
So, any questions that you guys have for each other? I know there's something happening behind here.
Moving. It sounds.
I think we've talked to each other a lot every week.
I think we see it pretty much every week, don't we? Yeah.
Just to explain, as far as the pantry, every Wednesday, a bunch of us are here, including Rufus and I, and we're setting everything up for the Thursday distribution. And then different churches pick one of the Thursdays. So, my wife and I are here one week, Rufus is here another week. So, works out pretty well that way. But sometimes I've kind of kept track of my hours for one week, and it was like, I'm back working full time again. I failed retirement, you know.
Now, are there?
Rick is so helpful. He comes and picks the food up from the McKinney Center.
Oh my goodness.
Drive.
Yeah, I keep saying we ought to get them to do it so they can feel like they've done something. More.
Bring it over.
We do.
I appreciate that so much. You're very helpful.
That is great.
Thank you.
So now, Thursdays, what happens again on Thursdays?
That's the actual distribution where
So that's when
the families come in
Okay.
and they circle around the building, and then they get checked in, and then we just bring out boxes of stuff that we've prepared ahead of time.
Right.
And so they're eligible once a month for
once
that.
a
And
month.
so it's open kind of every Thursday, but
Every Thursday but Thanksgiving or Christmas, if Christmas or New Year's fall on that Thursday. But we're not open on Thanksgiving. We open on Wednesday before the Thanksgiving. We do the food distribution. And Christmas, and we also do that at Christmas and New Year if it's on there. Any holiday that falls on that Thursday, that's a major holiday where everything is basically shut down, then we change the date. But other than that, we're here every Thursday for distribution of food.
And give the folks an example of if you drove by and picked up a box, what's in that box?
Man, let's see. From the USDA side of the house, it could be from one piece of meat to 3 or 4 pieces of meat.
Frozen
It could be
meat
frozen
would be-
chicken. It could be frozen salmon. It could be frozen perch. It could be frozen ham. It could be, let's see if I think those are the basic meats.
Yeah.
You can get frozen fruit like strawberries, blueberries.
Oh, wow.
And a certain amount of non-perishables of canned goods and stuff.
Yeah.
For the non-USDA box, and Karen can jump in here if I blow it, but we usually try to get 3 cans of vegetables, 2 cans of fruit. We're trying to push more towards nutritious stuff. We do not do ramen noodles anymore. Things like that. Rufus
Flour, sugar,
cornmeal.
cornmeal.
Flour or cornmeal and sugar.
Either or of those.
Box of cereal, usually pancake mix syrup right now. 2 cans of soup. What I call ready to eat, like a canned macaroni or something like that. Usually 2 boxes of macaroni and cheese. Go ahead, join in anytime.
Let's see.
But the Ingalls has these square boxes like they have milk come in. It holds 4 gallons of milk. So generally our non-USDA is 1 box, USDA is another box. Families of 4 or more, we do an additional box. And then perishable donations that we've gotten from Food City, Walmart, and things like that. And then during the summer, we are blessed with farmers and gardeners who bring in fresh produce.
Yeah.
So it's all locally grown.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep. So we may get As a matter of fact,
Oh.
one of the places that does that for us is right across the street here, basically at the West Side Baptist, the West Hill Baptist Church, I think it's called, one of them.
West Side, I think.
West Side Baptist Church. They actually have a community
garden.
garden back there.
Nice.
And I know that Jonesborough Presbyterian Church, a lot of the ladies get together and grow things back there because my wife was helping them with them. She's not part of Jonesborough Presbyterian, but they welcome anybody to come in and help them to grow different vegetables or whatever. And then they donate all that to us during those months. So they get a combination of fresh, frozen, canned, and sometimes, like I think this past week they had like things like grapefruits that they gave out, carrots, was one other thing, sweet potatoes, you know, and then we also had regular white potatoes that we gave out this week. So they get a combination of all that canned. We try to stay as fresh as we can, but you can't all year round.
Right.
And then other things we get from USDA is like peanut butter. We give out dry beans, dry peas, bread.
Okay.
I mean, it's when you leave here, it's actually enough to sustain you for a while, you know. And especially when I like the dry stuff where you can actually even make more out of it to extend it.
Do you give out a recipe book too?
We really did one time give out a recipe book for garbanzo beans. For some reason, in the South, they have no clue about what to do with garbanzo beans.
That's great.
Like, it's funny. So actually, we kind of quit giving out garbanzo beans because we'll find them somewhere else, like in the blessing blocks or something like that, you know. So we kind of got away from garbanzo beans. But I don't understand. I said, wait a minute, you can eat garbanzo beans in soup.
Yeah.
You can eat them make hummus out of it. I mean, there's so many things you can do with it, and it's good for you, you know, but it doesn't go well in the South.
Well, I know the one that I work with, a lot of times what came through, and we were clueless, papaya.
we could have got some papaya. I said, no sense in getting them.
What? Well, papaya came through, and luckily, we have a young couple that volunteers with us, and they're from Jamaica. And I'm like, what do you do with this?
Oh gosh.
And they were green. And I mean, I don't know anything about papaya. Yeah. And she goes, well, first of all, they need to be yellow. Okay. And so I'm like, and then what do they taste like? And she goes, they kind of taste like mango. And but the ones we had were green. And I did the whole put it in a plastic bag thinking it's going to turn yellow. But I've always wanted to put like a little note in everybody's car and say, share with us your favorite recipe with some of the food that's in the boxes. Yeah. Collect them again, print it up nice and fun, and then give them a copy of that recipe. So you've got multiple recipes from each group.
So why don't you do that, Michelle?
Well,
and we'll get the copy from you.
I really, really want to do that. I really do. We have several Hispanic families come through. And I always say, especially some exotic food that's in there that I've never, never mind, I'm talking off the list. But I always say, what are you going to make with this? And, you know, they come up with some of these great ideas. And I've always wanted, write your favorite recipe. Yeah. You know, especially if it's something like a papaya or garbanzo beans come through. And there was something else. And I'm like, what are you going to do with this? I would love to do it. Yeah, I'd love to do it. I thought we could make it and sell it and make a profit, but then they're like, no, you can't make
Can't do that.
Yeah, can't make a profit. Nope,
but I'd make it. I would. I'd love to just set it up and then give it out to people as they come through. I think it'd be a great experience.
Yeah. And one of the things about our Thursdays is that because we are automated, a lot of times we don't have people standing in long lines trying to get information from them. Normally I can get, I usually do it on our Thursday, and I normally can get 3 to 4 cars ahead of them. And what we do is we stick a number on the card that tells them how many is in the car. Or if I always ask them, is there anything you don't need or necessarily want, because people are allergic to fish or something
Right.
like that. You don't want to give them that. And so they'll tell us, now put it on the car right quick, put it on the car, and that makes it easier because these guys can now go to the vehicles and pull the card off, and don't have to worry about, I don't have to worry about going and telling them. They can get it, process it, and usually you're out very quickly, within 5 minutes probably.
That's really
Than
cool.
Chick-fil-A.
Well, there you go.
You know.
That's a cool thing. We do the numbers, but we don't put. It's just a random number, but we don't put 2 or 3 boxes or 1 like that. And I love that idea of asking folks, do you want this or not? Because I think it is so much food, and we do it weekly, every Wednesday. And I don't know if we do the USDA stuff. We must have just Food Pantry, Second Harvest. But it's every Wednesday, and I'm like...
So you go up and buy your food?
I don't know. There's a whole other lady that does all of that. I just step up and say, what you need me to do?
Yeah. Because she goes to Second Harvest. USDA comes from Second Harvest. So
okay.
She could be doing it, but you would know, because you can only give it out to people who are eligible.
Okay, yeah. I think... I don't know the details on that. I know we do have that tablet system, and I know that just keeps... Have you been to another place today?
Yeah.
But I love the fact that you ask them, do you need this or do you want this? Because I think there's no way that this little old lady is going to eat 5 pounds of potatoes in a week. And so I always wonder, what do you do with this if you don't eat it?
No, and before COVID, how was it? Folks would have a box that they would fill. Like, how was that limited?
They actually would have a shopping cart, and then they would get checked in at the desk on the computer, then go back into the waiting room, and they would get a number for that.
Okay.
And then whoever was just done, if number 10 would go, who's 11? 11 would come in, and then they would get the shopping cart, and then they go through, and we'd ask, like USDA, we gave them all of it pretty much automatically. In fact, we're required to, we found out eventually. So they get everything USDA, and it's like, we may have 3 different kinds of jelly. They can have one, but they could at least got to choose which flavor and things like that. And we had some people that, it's like, no, I don't want any of that. Don't give me any of that, But that didn't mean that they could have 2 or 3 of something else because they said no. And then we had one gentleman come in, and he was recently released, I think, from a prison in Georgia. And he saw the ramen noodles, which we were doing at the time. He says, don't give me those. That's all I've eaten for the last 2 years.
Bless his heart.
But it was a worry on our part that because we were so selective and everything like that, when we went into COVID and just doing the boxes, it's like, are we giving people more food that they can use? And so we asked them,
something they're not going to eat.
Share with a family member, share with a neighbor. There's a blessing box down by the library. You can drop off stuff there, which when we do garbanzo beans, there's usually a whole shelf of them in there. So they're hearing us. But you do miss the personal contact too with them.
Yeah, if you're on the inside, I work on the outside, so I don't miss that personal contact. We actually have one person who comes every week and has already prepared a list of what she do not need. So that all I got to do is go, oh, thank you, put it with the cart. It's already there for us. I mean, that's how considerate she is, because she can see how busy we can get sometimes. So she said, I just do it at the house, and that way I got your list, and you don't have to try to write it down anymore. You don't have to remember it. It's there, and people go, oh, that's neat. So that would be best. But I always ask anyway, just to make sure.
One of our challenges is that sometimes neighbors are helping each other out. So there'll be 3 families in the little Toyota Tercel, and they're going to each get
exactly
2 boxes each and all the rest of it.
Yeah. I think I've had as many as 5 in a car that's not much bigger than I don't know, one of the smaller cars, and it's like, you gonna fit that in there? Well, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll put it on our laps. We'll put it on, like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Tell them about how sometimes people get birthday cakes.
Oh.
That makes me happy.
Well, when we get donations from Walmart, generally there's some cakes involved. I don't think we get too many from Food City.
No.
And then I guess the person asking, talking to the cars and so forth, to find out if somebody has a birthday, and we'll usually have a couple of like large birthday cakes, and they'll make sure that they get one.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we had one today. And
That's
so I
so
was
sweet.
asking, I say, has anybody got a birthday in your family coming up? Yes, they do. So out it goes.
I love that. We usually have cupcakes.
Yeah.
And so if we've got little kids in the car, we'll specifically give kids a cupcake.
Yeah.
Is it okay, cupcake? That kind of thing. That's really sweet about the birthday cake.
We've had some optional items, like, again, during the height of COVID, we had cases of masks, and we'd ask the families if they wanted them or not.
Yeah.
Right now, we have some digital thermometers, so you can take somebody's
Oh.
temperature
No,
with
it's
a forehead.
infrared.
Infrared, yeah.
That's great. We did the COVID test for days.
Yeah, we gave
Yeah,
out
we had a lot
COVID
of
tests
those.
also.
COVID test.
We gave
and,
out COVID tests. And,
hand sanitizer and sanitate the wipes.
yeah.
So it's a wonderful thing. It is such a wonderful thing, and I encourage anybody to just go volunteer one time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just go one time and say, what can I do?
Yeah.
And my favorite job, and I get mad if they don't let me have it. It's awful. I become a 5-year-old and I'll pout. But we don't have the circle through. We come down the road, and I love directing traffic. I love doing this. You wait right there, but you come on down. And I try to get like 2 at a time. So you get here, you drop off your number, you get your box, drive down, and then we put like the potatoes, or if there's some like a watermelon, cabbage, whatever it might be. We put bread, we put those other items in. I love just directing traffic. Come on down. And then when they stop, like first of all, I'm in there in the beginning loading boxes.
Yeah.
And it wears my little body out. Yeah. But when it's done, I want to go out and do that because I don't want to pick up more heavy stuff. So I call them down, and then that's when I get that one-on-one conversation with them. And, there's one little lady, she's always reading while she's waiting in line. And I always talk, what are you reading? I've got this reading, I'm done. And then I got to go get me another one. I love that. These families with the little kids in the back. There's one little lady, her little child has to be 2. And the car seat is in the back seat. But by the time this car rides up to me, that little kid is in the front seat, out of that car seat. He's a little Hispanic kid, and he's just smiling. And I'm like, what are you doing out of your seat? Get back in the... Then they drop off, and I'm like, you better get him in that seat.
Yeah, the kids are the funniest, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can always tell a happy family by the kids.
Yes.
And they come. I have not seen a sad kid yet. They want to talk to you. They want to laugh with you. I'm like,
Great.
Really? I gotta go. No, you gotta hear this. You gotta hear this. I gotta go.
And that is my favorite part of working with this pantry. And I truly, literally stumbled into this building. I wasn't even, I got some shoes. What are y'all doing? And I've been there ever since. I've missed some days if I'm out of town, but gosh, I'm marking on my calendar. Don't make a plan for Wednesday from 11 to 1.
I know what you mean. My wife, when she has to go to the doctor, she knows Wednesday, it has to be after 12.
Yes.
On Thursdays, second Thursday of the month, it has to be after 12. That's the calendar. Don't even worry about it. You make your schedule around that, okay? Yeah. That's the way I do it. Make your schedule around that.
That's it.
Y'all, we're at an hour and 4 minutes. But I was going to ask, maybe you can ask it because I don't have a microphone. So maybe you can repeat what I'm saying.
Okay,
but
what you got?
I just wanted to hear, maybe some final thoughts about the food pantry and also, why it's important maybe to you to do service around MLK Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So the question is, make a connection between service working with the pantry and Martin Luther King Day and this month coming up and service projects in the community. What are your thoughts on those 2 items?
Not just MLK Day, but all days. Really, I try to do something, volunteer my time to do something. I'm fully retired. I have oodles of free time. And I know that it's important, just like MLK knew it was important, that all people help each other. And I feel like we need to help each other. And by helping each other, I think that we can further the dream of the black, white, yellow, as people say, red. Never seen a red one, but hey, can come together, you know, and understand each other and be a part of each other. And I find that by doing this, you actually do create that bond where the color barrier is broken down more and more. So I think it's a good thing to do service in relationship to the MLK Day, and you'd be surprised. I mean, I walked into places and saw people I've serviced here, and they go, "Hey, how you doing today?" You know, so it just doesn't. It's just not here where you do service at, wherever it may be. It's outside into the community as well, that they start to recognize you as an individual that they probably would have never done before. So that's a good thing.
That's great. That's great.
I'm not really going to relate it, I guess, to MLK, but other than how everybody wants to be helping, you know, everybody else, I would say that, like, the volunteers, especially that we have on Wednesday, who are packing boxes and organizing this and doing all of that, are working harder than they ever did for their paid job, whatever they did before they retired. And they're loving every minute of it. There is just so much joy and happy sounds in the room and stuff like that. And it's just so great to be a part of that. It's just, I think it's amazing. One of my feelings about Jonesborough, and maybe this is about retirement in general, is when you retire and you move someplace, particularly away from where you were, you get to reinvent yourself. And you get to be whatever it is you want to be. And for me, I'm also doing what I wanted to be able to do that I didn't have time for while you're working. And just to be able to go out and help others and stuff like that is just a wonderful way to spend your declining years. Reclining years.
No, it's reclining.
You got reclining right. You got it right with reclining. I bought me a recliner. Let me tell you. And retirement clothes. If y'all got an outfit? Retirement outfit?
No, I'm pretty much the same as I am always. Unless I'm working here, I'm pretty much the same.
I got a retirement outfit. Don't come by my house with unannounced.
Is it a onesie?
No.
Is it a onesie?
It should be, but it's not. Because we didn't talk about your jobs post or pre-retirement, so we'll have to have you guys back and talk about what did you do when you were growing up. But this has been fabulous. Very, very interesting.
Thank you.
Yay.
I've enjoyed this.
And I'm glad we could do the food pantry in January, because it's a fabulous way to start the year off and
Absolutely.
just find something to do in service to our community throughout the year. So.
I hope other food pantries will also can benefit from this being recorded and spread out. That other pantries will also get the word out that way as something, so that, you know, people who are in need don't have to continue to be in need. They can get some relief from some place that can service them. So
we'll have to share this with Second Harvest so they can
that's a good idea.
tune in and hear you guys. So, all righty.
Well, and y'all probably can't hear me because I don't have a mic on, but I just want to personally say thank you both. I know you don't do it for the thanks, but thank you both for what you do.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very important. It makes a difference. It truly makes a difference. If you guys didn't hear, Sky made a personal thank you to our guests for the service that they do to our community. So, all right. Again, thank you. And what do we say? See you next month. Bye. Bye.